The gates opened with a groan, not fast, not dramatic, just metal scraping against metal, like bones dragged across concrete. He stepped out, 13 steps forward, then silence. The air was different. It didn't smell like rust and sweat anymore. It smelled like time, wasted time. 15 years earlier, he had walked through different doors, handcuffed, confused, betrayed. Back then, he still believed in fairness, in truth, in love. But years have a way of scraping things off a man. First it was his name, then his pride, then hope. But one thing remained: memory. And memory, it doesn't heal in a cage. She wore the wedding ring while laying the trap, smiled in court while testifying, and when the cell door slammed shut, she vanished. 15 birthdays, 15 Christmases, 15 years of cold metal and hotter rage. Now he was out, not free, just out, and he wasn't going home. He had no home, but he had a name and a face and a promise he made on the floor of a prison cell. When the lights went out and the silence was louder than screaming, "If I ever breathe fresh air again, she won't." He was the kind of man people nodded to on the street, not because he was famous, but because he had built something, brick by brick, hour by hour, a business that ran clean, a home that felt warm, a name that meant something. People came to him when things broke. When things got messy, he fixed what he could and listened when he couldn't. He didn't drink, didn't cheat, paid his taxes early. And when he spoke, it was slow, thoughtful, measured. The kind of man you trust with your daughter's wedding or your father's funeral. And he loved her. God, he loved her. She walked like wind, soft but impossible to ignore. Her laugh filled a room. Her eyes lingered just long enough to make people wonder if she saw more than she let on. She was kind to strangers, quick with compliments, a perfect hostess, a perfect partner. On the outside, but even the best masks crack when no one's watching. The neighbors noticed first, the way her eyes stayed on someone else's husband a second too long. The late-night phone calls, the sudden trips that didn't make sense. But no one said anything. After all, he looked happy. He called her my anchor. She called him my foundation. They looked like love. But sometimes love is just good lighting. He brought her flowers every Friday, cooked when she was tired, massaged her feet after 12-hour shifts. And when he saw the bruises on her wrist one night, and she said it was just a shelf that fell, he believed her. Because that's what love does. Believe. Even when it shouldn't. Even when the math stops adding up and the stories change shape. He defended her when others raised doubts, laughed off their suspicions, and every time he kissed her goodnight, he felt like the luckiest man alive. But luck is a coin, and every coin has two sides. He thought she was the light of his life, but light can cast shadows. And she was hiding a long one. It started like any other morning. Coffee, a kiss, keys on the counter. He was halfway through shaving when the knock came. Not one knock, 3. Hard, fast. The kind of knock that doesn't ask, it orders. He opened the door. Badges, guns, voices shouting commands. In 15 seconds, he was face down on his own hardwood floor. In 15 minutes, his house was torn apart. They found what they were looking for. Bags he'd never seen, names he didn't recognize, files with numbers and faces he couldn't explain. He tried to speak. They told him to shut up. He looked at her. She stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, face blank. Not shocked, not scared, just Still, he reached out to her with his eyes. She didn't move, not an inch. Later they told him she'd given the anonymous tip, that she knew what they'd find. He laughed when they said it, said they had the wrong woman. But in court, she took the stand, swore under oath that she had feared for her life, said he was running operations behind her back, claimed he had confided in her late at night under the influence. She told them she loved him once, but that love couldn't blind her to the truth. He looked at her while she spoke. She never looked back, not once. The defense was confused, unprepared. The jury wasn't. They had the evidence, they had her tears, and now they had him in handcuffs. Again. This time there was no confusion, just a cold, sinking clarity. This wasn't a mistake. It was orchestrated, step by step, word by word. She had walked him into the trap, then closed the door. He begged for answers. She gave him silence. The jury gave him 15 years. Prison doesn't hit all at once. It sinks in, slow, like cold water filling your lungs. The first nights, he didn't sleep. His cell was small, the walls thin, the voices loud. He replayed the trial in his head, her voice on the stand, her eyes that never met his. Every word she said, every lie she shaped, looped. He wrote letters at first, pleading, confused. She never wrote back. He stopped asking. The world outside kept spinning. Inside, time moved like concrete. His dreams got smaller. First it was freedom, then just sunlight, then nothing. His hands, once used for building, blistered from scrubbing metal sinks and shoveling gravel. His back bent, his voice thinned, his silence grew loud. And somewhere in year 5, the sadness burned off. What remained was fire, not rage, not even hate. Focus. Every day he stacked in his mind like bricks. One by one, he trained, read, waited. Then one day a name slipped through the cracks. A prison guard gossiping near the vending machine. His wife? She left town, started over. Was some woman, I think. Changed her name too. Smart move. He didn't move when he heard it. Just stared at the peeling paint on the wall across from him. But that night, something shifted. She was gone, happy, living a second life, while he was still buried in the first, and all the apologies he had written in his head, all the explanations he had begged for, turned to ash. He stopped marking the years, started counting the steps it would take, from the gate to wherever she was. He didn't want to die in that cell, not because he feared death, but because she would never see it. And that to him would be mercy. So he made himself a vow, quiet, unspoken. If I ever get out, she won't. The years didn't break him. They sharpened him. 13 years, not 15. He earned 2 years off for good behavior. Not because he smiled, not because he made friends, but because he followed rules, kept his head down, never spoke unless spoken to. That kind of silence gets noticed. They handed him a plastic bag with what little he came in with, a watch that didn't tick, a wallet with no cash, a photograph she hadn't made it into. He didn't ask questions. He didn't say goodbye. He stepped out, took one breath of real air, and didn't look back. He didn't come out for freedom. He came out for closure, his way. He walked 5 miles that day, didn't call anyone, didn't eat, didn't sleep, just walked. Then he sat in a public library, logged onto a computer, and started typing. Her name wasn't her name anymore, but some things don't change. A birthmark, a high school record, A donation made under her mother's maiden name. Piece by piece, he found her. Different state, new haircut, quiet neighborhood, a golden retriever and a rainbow flag on the porch, smiling in pictures, holding hands with someone who had no idea who she used to be, who she really was. He watched every photo like a blueprint, not rage, not grief, just clarity. He bought a bus ticket, one way, cash only. No phone calls, no letters, no explanations, no one waiting on the other side. Just him and her and what needed to be finished. He didn't pack a bag. He didn't need one. He wasn't traveling for a fresh start, just the end. The ride took 16 hours. He looked out the window the whole time, not at the scenery, at the past. Every lie, every silence, every second in that cell, all of it bringing him here, step by step, mile by mile, toward her. The house was painted blue, a modest porch, hanging plants, wind chimes that danced in the breeze. A world untouched, unbothered. She smiled a lot, walked her dog in the morning, watered the plants at dusk. No bars on the windows, no deadbolts in the daylight. She lived like she had nothing to fear, like the past had forgiven her. But some debts don't vanish. Some clocks don't stop ticking. And some graves don't stay closed. He watched her from across the street. A rented room, a cracked curtain, a notebook filled with quiet details. He wasn't in a rush, not after 13 years. He watched her partner too, the way she reached for her hand at crosswalks, the way they laughed at things no one else could hear. It almost looked like love, almost. But he had seen the other side of that smile, the one she gave you right before everything collapsed. He waited for the perfect night. No visitors, no deliveries, no noise, just them. Two women, one lie. He let himself in. The door took seconds. The lock meant nothing. They were in the kitchen. No screams, no threats. She recognized him. Her face turned pale, not with fear, but understanding. The truth always catches up. He didn't raise his voice, didn't say her name, just looked at her like a man who had come back for the last chapter. Her partner stepped forward, confused, protective. He stepped past her. It was fast, precise, not rage, not chaos, just completion. Two lives ended in under a minute. The wind chimes never stopped moving. He sat on the front porch, lit a cigarette he didn't plan to finish, dialed 3 numbers, spoke clearly, gave the address, then waited. No running, no fight. He had already been a prisoner. This wasn't escape. It was balance. And now the scale was level. The news hit like a lightning strike. Double homicide in a quiet neighborhood. Convicted man released early, kills ex-wife and her partner. The media fed on it. Mugshots, courtroom sketches, grainy footage of the man being escorted into a cruiser. Head down, no resistance. Comment sections exploded. Half the country called him a monster. The other half called him something else. You lock a man up for nothing, expect him to come out whole? He didn't get justice in court, so he found it his way. Journalists tracked down old neighbors. He was a good man, quiet, always helped shovel the sidewalk. She was sweet, but there were always whispers. Detectives gave stiff statements. Legal analysts filled airtime. This is what happens when the system fails twice. First by convicting an innocent man, and then by releasing him without real rehabilitation. Or maybe he was always broken, and prison just gave him time to sharpen the blade. But the man never spoke. No interviews, no memoir, not a word in court. just sat through the trial like a ghost, present but already gone. Psychologists picked apart his silence, tried to diagram his mind on whiteboards. Was he ever truly free? Or was the cage inside him, long before the concrete and bars? One headline asked what everyone else was afraid to say out loud. Did we create him? He didn't plead insanity, didn't plead anything, just accepted his sentence with the same stillness he carried through every moment since stepping out of that prison gate. He served time for a crime he didn't commit, and then chose his own sentence. No appeal, no apology, because the past had never let go of him, and now he had returned the favor. The room is gray, not dark, not bright, just gray. A single camera records him, wrists chained to the table, face expressionless. He's older now, not just in years, in weight, the kind of weight you don't carry on your shoulders, but behind your eyes. The reporter leans forward, quiet, careful. One final question. If you could go back, would you do it again? He doesn't blink, doesn't shift, just stares forward and says nothing, because the answer is already behind him. 2 lives, 13 years, one choice. Forgiveness is a choice, so is revenge. The question is, which one do we live with? If this story held you, if you felt the weight, subscribe now for more true stories, more forgotten names, and the chilling question that always lingers, what would you have done?